What if I told you that the most hyped flagship of 2026 might already be outdated before it even launches? Stop. Take a breath. And before you even think about smashing that pre-order button on the brand new Samsung Galaxy S26 lineup, you need to hear this. The leaks are out. The spec sheets are public. And the mystery? It's officially dead. What we're looking at is not a revolution. It's a calculated refresh. And in some areas, it feels like Samsung is asking for future money for past technology. We are just 2 weeks away from the big Unpacked event on February 25th in California. Samsung will walk onto that stage with confidence. Big words. Polished slides. Dramatic music. But when you strip away the marketing shine and read the raw specifications, a very different story appears. A story of recycled components. A story of regional performance gaps. A story of charging speeds that honestly feel embarrassing in 2026. If you're holding on to an older Galaxy phone right now, especially something from 2 or 3 years ago, this conversation matters. Because what Samsung is changing, and what they are lazily keeping the same, will decide whether you upgrade or save your money. Let's start with the base Galaxy S26 and the S26 Plus. This is where the frustration really begins. Samsung is once again playing the chip lottery. And if you've been a Galaxy fan for years, you already know what that means. Different regions. Different processors. Same price. If you live in the United States, you are likely getting the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5. Powerful. Efficient. Stable. But if you live in Europe or other global markets, you could be stuck with the Exynos 2600. And history has not been kind to Exynos chips. They tend to run hotter. They drain battery faster. And under heavy load, they throttle performance to keep temperatures in check. So let's break that down in simple terms. 2 people. Same phone. Same price. Completely different real-world performance. That's not innovation. That's segmentation. It becomes even harder to justify when you remember how premium these phones are priced. Flagship money. For a silicon lottery ticket. You shouldn't have to hope your region wins. And the fact that Samsung continues this strategy in 2026 tells us something important. They believe brand loyalty is strong enough to survive it. Now let's talk about charging. Because this might be the most disappointing part of the base S26. Yes, the battery is slightly bigger this year. A 4,300 mAh cell. That's a small but welcome bump. On paper, that sounds good. But then you look at the charging speed. Still 25 watts. 25 watts. In 2026. Budget phones are charging faster than that. Some mid-range devices can go from 0 to full in under 20 minutes. Yet Samsung expects flagship buyers to wait over an hour for a full charge. That's not just slow. That's outdated. Charging speed is not just about numbers. It's about respecting your time. When you're rushing out the door, every minute matters. A fast 10-minute top-up can change your day. But with 25W, you're still babysitting the charger. For a company of Samsung's size and engineering power, this feels like a conscious limitation. Not a technical one. There is one positive change. And it's overdue. Samsung has finally killed the 128GB base model. Every S26 now starts at 256GB of storage with 12GB of RAM. That is how a flagship should start. It took years of criticism, but at least that bottleneck is gone. However, when we move to cameras on the base model, the excitement fades again. The hardware stack looks extremely familiar. Same sensors. Same general configuration. And while AI processing can enhance photos, software can only do so much. If the hardware doesn't evolve, the ceiling stays the same. Now let's shift to the S26 Plus. And honestly, this is where things get confusing. I've looked at the leaked specifications for hours. And I keep asking the same question. Why does this phone exist? It uses the same screen resolution, the same 4900 mAh battery, the same camera sensors as the base model. The charging speed is bumped to 45 W, which is acceptable. But the overall dimensions and weight are nearly identical to its predecessor. What does that suggest? Reused tooling. Reused chassis. Minimal redesign. This doesn't feel like a phone built for users. It feels like a product built to maintain margins. A slight refresh. A new name. A higher price. But not a meaningful leap. If you buy S device, you are essentially buying last year's phone with a newer chip and minor tweaks. That's stagnation. Not progress. Now we move to the star of the show. The S26 Ultra. This is where Samsung clearly invested most of the research and development budget. The Ultra keeps its massive 6.9-inch display. But now it's thinner. And lighter. On paper, that sounds amazing. Slimmer. Sleeker. More refined. But thinner designs come with trade-offs. Heat management becomes harder. And the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 is not a mild chip. It's powerful. And powerful chips generate heat. If Samsung reduced internal cooling space to achieve that thinner body, we might see thermal throttling during heavy gaming or extended 4K video recording. And if that happens, sustained performance drops. You get short bursts of speed. But not long-term stability. This is something real-world reviews will expose very quickly. Now let's talk about cameras. Because this is where things finally get interesting. The main sensor remains 200 megapixels. But the aperture has widened from f/1.7 to f/1.4. That might sound like a small numerical change. It's not. In optics, that's a massive jump in light intake. More light means better low-light photography. Cleaner night shots. More natural background blur. Less dependence on artificial portrait modes. But there's a trade-off. A wider aperture creates a thinner depth of field. That means the focus area becomes extremely narrow. If you're shooting close-up photos of food or documents, parts of your image may fall out of focus. Unless Samsung introduces a variable aperture system, and leaks suggest they haven't, close-up photography could actually become more challenging. Still, Samsung did improve the rest of the camera system. We're finally seeing a 50MP ultra-wide lens. And an upgraded periscope setup. This is the balanced quad camera system fans have been asking for. Better detail. Better cropping. More flexibility. And here's something that feels like progress. The Ultra supports 60W charging. It's not 100W. It's not industry-leading. But 60W is a sweet spot. Fast enough to feel modern. Not so aggressive that it destroys long-term battery health. This is the kind of compromise that actually makes sense. Samsung is also pushing something called Unpacked AI. The name sounds futuristic. But what does it actually do? From what we know, it's supposed to be a more proactive assistant. Smarter suggestions. Deeper system integration. But let's be honest. Until it can handle real-life tasks independently, like booking appointments or managing complex workflows, it's just a smarter chatbot wrapped in marketing language. There's also talk of a new privacy display layer. A feature that dims the screen when viewed from sharp angles. It's not new technology. But if it works well without ruining screen quality, it could be useful. The real question is whether it compromises viewing angles for the actual owner. If it does, many users will disable it immediately. So where does that leave us? If you own the S25 Ultra, this is not a must upgrade. The improvements are refinements. Not revolutions. The wider aperture is exciting. The 60W charging is welcome. But is that worth flagship pricing? Probably not. If you're using an S22 Ultra or S23 Ultra, the jump becomes more logical. The new Snapdragon chip offers major performance gains. Charging is faster. The camera system is more balanced. That's a real upgrade path. But for the base S26 and S26 Plus, the story feels stuck. 25W charging in 2026 is hard to defend. Regional chip differences are frustrating. And minor hardware changes don't justify premium pricing. Samsung is playing it safe. Very safe. They are betting on brand loyalty. On ecosystem lock-in. On marketing power. Instead of bold innovation across the entire lineup. And that's the core issue. This could have been the year Samsung reset expectations. Instead, it feels like careful iteration. Safe upgrades. Controlled risks. Will it sell? Absolutely. It's Samsung. But should you rush to pre-order? That's a different question. My honest opinion? The S26 Ultra is the only model that feels somewhat forward-looking. Even then, it's evolutionary. Not revolutionary. The base and Plus models feel like they are lagging behind competitors who are pushing charging speeds and hardware innovation much harder. If Samsung surprises us at launch with powerful software features that genuinely change the user experience, that could shift the narrative. But based purely on hardware leaks, this lineup feels conservative. And in a world moving this fast, conservative can quickly feel outdated. So think carefully. Compare wisely. Don't let shiny marketing distract you from real-world performance and long-term value. If you like the video, subscribe, share the video and hit the bell icon like that, and give your best opinion about this product. Also add engaging hook in the start as well.